Today, Amazing Workplaces goes in conversation with Pavan Bakshi. Pavan Bakshi is an executive coach and trainer of international stature. His core competency is bringing about performance growth, leadership transition, and change management. Pavan specializes in conducting leadership transformation initiatives within the organizations and has trained and consulted for leadership interventions in various Fortune 500 companies. With over 34 years of proven leadership track record, Pawan Bakshi has led both Indian and multinational organizations to success. Pawan's expertise in the domain of leadership transformation is enviable. Welcome, Pawan, to Amazing Workplaces.
Thank you, Ekta. Thanks, Atan.
So, how does it feel to be on the other side of leadership after all this experience?
Oh, it's been a wonderful journey. In fact, after I left the corporate world, I started thinking as to how I can serve it. And what continuously kept coming back in my mind is why don't I go and start training people and facilitating building of capability, because that was one challenge I found across the board. So ready to prepare myself for that, I first joined Franklin Covey. So Franklin Covey is one of the largest multinational organizations which is an expert in leadership and development. And that was also a test for myself to see whether I really enjoyed it, and more importantly, whether I was able to give value to people. I stayed with them for 2 years, and in these 2 years I did almost about 180 workshops. And that's the time I got an input from people around me that I was able to make the difference that I was looking for. So after these 2 years, then I said, okay, let's start doing something which I would really urge everybody to do once in his lifetime, be an entrepreneur.
Okay.
Because it's the most threatening thing in this world to do, right? Especially in these uncertain times. So I started my own company. And that's when we started getting international content into India. And more importantly, started localizing the context in our delivery. So that's been the short of the long journey that we have gone through.
Okay, great, awesome. So, what changes have you witnessed about the changing face of leadership in your 34 years of experience? Because your vast experience, you must have gone through so much.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's been a great experience. Actually, I can put a finger to three things very, very clearly. The first thing that has really changed big time is that people have now, and I'm specifically talking about leaders and managers, they have transitioned from being more commanding to more collaborative. And of course, that's the need of the hour, because earlier knowledge was power. So the most knowledgeable person in the team would be the leader. But today, knowledge is so vast that every single leader would have team members in certain areas who would be better than him. So that collaborative work is more important today than being more autocratic and commanding. So that's one big piece I've seen a change that is really happening in. The second change, of course, is being able to manage the change effectively. Because the change was happening even earlier. So people say change is happening now. No. Change has always been a part and parcel of life. But the rapidity of change has gone much faster. And because of that, I believe emotional intelligence and interpersonal skills have taken a much higher need that there is today than what it was earlier. So these two things really come to my mind. The third thing, of course, which I truly believe in, and I think we have a journey yet to go, is how do we become more ethical and more sustainable? How do we sustain organizations and only focus on short-term goals? And that's where ethical leadership really comes in. So the need of the hour is thinking of the long-term good, not only of the personal self, but all the stakeholders that they are, and all people and the society at large. So look at the larger good of the world. I think that's the third area that is not changed so much, but there's a need to change much more than that.
Okay. So, like my question was, you have witnessed this change, right?
Yeah.
But you're saying that still the process needs to be more refined.
Absolutely.
We need to accept a lot more.
Yes, we need to be more collaborative. We need to be taking people along. We need to be more emotionally intelligent, manage change much better, and we need to be more ethical. I think being ethical is one of the core elements of leadership, which at times gets sidelined because of the immediate needs of leadership.
Right. Then leaders of yesteryears and leaders of today. Who would you choose and why?
Well, I wouldn't see it as a either or kind of a question. I would rather say, what is it that one thing that we as leaders of today can pick up from leaders of yesterday? The one fundamental difference that leaders of yesterday had was their purpose was always larger than themselves.
Okay.
The purpose of current leaders at times becomes more self-serving. So I think if there's one thing that we can really imbibe is try to look at the larger good that we can make and see the larger purpose for which we are making that change. So the leaders of today can very well identify or should be identifying their purposes for the larger good of the society rather than being self-serving, even for themselves and even for the organization. So it has to kind of go to the larger society as a whole. So that's one thing I think we can always pick up from Gandhi, Martin Luther, any earlier leader you see. The purpose was so much bigger than themselves.
Definitely, and that kind of leadership is like very rare to find in today's times.
So true, so true.
Yeah, it's become more self-centric.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I could say even at times more organizational centric and not thinking of the larger good.
Right.
Because I go to a lot of organizations and I see that while they know that they are doing well profit in terms of revenue generation,
Yeah.
their own interest in the society around them is not there. So I wouldn't like to name a lot of things, but yeah, I do see a lot of things happening which should not be happening, really speaking.
But as an organization, do you feel that how far can an organization go to the good of the society?
So I think it's all interlinked.
Yeah.
It is all very, very interlinked, unless of course you are in a tobacco company,
Yeah.
right? Then there's a problem. But most of the companies that are, like I work with, a lot of work with pharmaceutical companies.
Okay.
They are doing a much larger element than just making revenue for the company.
Right.
So the kind of purpose that they have is to actually provide the best of the medicines at the best optimum cost and save lives. And just bringing that into context for them, for them to understand that we serve society, truly gets meaning in their life. And once you get meaning in your life, your own involvement in the work that you do grows multiple times. So it's not that they are not doing it, they are not aware of it.
Okay.
Telecom, I always remember when I was in telecom, I always thought that my purpose was to enable that call to happen, which would provide help to somebody. Now, if that is what I was working for, I would be more interested in ensuring that my network was working at the optimum level.
Right.
So you could always find a much greater meaning and not just find it, it is actually out there, but we don't put our focus onto that. So intentionally when you start focusing on purpose of your organization, you become more intentional and more excited about what you are doing. And that is what makes life really worth it.
So according to what you were telling me, it is important for companies to inform the employees about the goals that a company is working towards. The purpose has to be informed.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right.
The larger purpose needs to be very clear to everybody.
Right.
So we have a lot of vision, missions, statements.
Yeah.
But do they really connect to people? Do they really connect to every single employee of the organization is something that they should be thinking about. And in some manner, connectable mission, vision statements should be created. Yeah.
So can you give an example in this?
Yeah, so we help organizations do that. And one thing that we help organizations do and we help teams in the organizations do is create a team purpose statement.
Okay.
And I do this little play acting with them when I go to somebody and say, I'm the neighbor, living in the house next to you, and I see you going to office every day and coming back. And by the time you come back, you seem very tired. Obviously, you must be doing something really important. So what is it that you do? Now that's a question which stumps most people. They say, this is a question we haven't got an answer to. Then we make them go through a little method that we have, a process that we have, where they are able to articulate the team purpose as something that it goes like this: we serve. And then comes the clients that they serve. So we serve, let's say it's an internal production department. So production department is serving who? The marketing department. So we serve marketing team to help them achieve the company revenue targets by providing them first time right 99% quality products.
Right.
So that's the kind of articulation that they do. And when they do it, and then I go back to them and say, okay, I'm your neighbor, what do you really do? Just read it out from there. So they say, we serve our marketing department to help them achieve revenue targets by providing dash, 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 dash.
So
And suddenly it becomes more connectable to them, and the larger purpose of what they do really gets it really gets known to them.
True.
Right? And that makes them completely see the job. So Robin Sharma says it so well. He says a job is a job if you only choose to see it as a job.
Right.
So job is actually a very important part of life because it helps you become the person you want to become.
True.
And if you see your job
Yeah.
as enabling you to become what you really want to become and how you serve the world, you will see a job not only as a job but something much more pious, which it really is.
Very true. So how does leadership impact a company's culture?
That's a very interesting question. In fact, in one of the workshops that we do, we give laminated pieces to people. And the pieces are leadership, climate, culture, employees, and organizational performance. So 5 pieces are given to them. And we then ask them to put them in the right order. I dare say, very, very rarely somebody really puts it in the right order. The right order is leaders. Leadership is right up here on the top. That drives the climate of the organization. Climate is what? What people feel about their organization. Right? So the leaders drive the climate. Immediate feeling. Right? As you enter the environment of the organization. Right? So as you enter the organization, you may feel a resonant or a non-resonant feeling. So they have to create a resonant climate where people resonate with it. Now when that happens, then the employees get excited about what they do, and then comes the employees. Once the employees are excited about what they do, they then start demonstrating behaviors. And what is culture? Culture is nothing but the behaviors that people demonstrate in an organization and what they are appreciated for. So employees, because they feel good about the culture, start behaving in a manner that creates a positive culture within the organization, and this culture then drives organizational performance. So there is no direct link between leadership and culture, but there is an indirect but a very important link.
It's an interesting fact. I've never heard of this.
Yes, yes. So this is a beautiful way of actually understanding what culture is all about and how leaders indirectly drive culture. Because culture, unfortunately, also people don't understand. It's just a set of behaviors. Like you go to a Bengali culture, what does it say? It's a set of behaviors that people demonstrate, how they greet each other, how do they celebrate, right? How do they kind of look after each other. So that's a culture. And that is what we need to build. And what we say is, don't build a high performance culture, build a performance enhancing culture. Because a high performance culture gives you an input of it being the end. Right? But a performance enhancing culture, there is never an end. So wherever you are, performance enhance it. Performance enhance it. So it is almost like always you are trying to get better than what you are.
True.
So that's how leadership really drives culture.
True. There's a lot of talk about culture. But when we actually ask, it's very difficult to define culture. And like you rightly said that like supposing a Bengali family, it will have its own culture, or maybe for that matter, in our own families we have different cultures. We follow different things.
Absolutely.
Okay, if a guest is coming, how are we going to welcome him? You know, those kind of little things, they actually form the culture.
Absolutely. So it's a little set of behaviors that people, while they interact with each other, how do they really interact?
Absolutely.
And what happens is, what you appreciate is what you get.
True.
So if the leader starts appreciating a behavior, more people around them are likely to start following it. We normally try to look for bad behavior, but that doesn't really work. If we start looking for good behavior,
Right.
and start openly appreciating it,
Yeah.
there are more chances of people wanting to follow it.
True.
So that's another way of looking at culture.
Absolutely. That's a very nice point you have raised. So coming to the last question, Pavan, in today's changing workplace scenario, what is that one thing that remains constant and why is it so?
I think one cliche answer is change. But I believe there's another answer which is more important. I personally believe that leaders must continue to have the ability to communicate and connect with people.
Right.
Today in technology world, the way technology has come in, a lot of leaders are preventing themselves to have those one-on-one connects with employees
Right.
and blaming it on technology.
Okay.
While there's truth in the fact that people are working from home, while there's certainly truth in the fact that they are remote teams, leaders must make an effort to have one-on-one conversations with their team members, and technology can be a great enabler in it. So when I say connect, it could even be a Zoom call.
Yeah.
So I think that's one ability every single leader needs to be aware of.
Yeah.
And my own personal experience is most of the time when people don't do something,
Yeah.
it is not because they don't want to do it, they are not aware
Yeah.
of the need of it.
Right.
As somebody said, better awareness leads to better choices, and better choices lead to better results.
Right.
So when leaders become aware about the fact that they need to connect with team members on a one-on-one basis at a personal level, there are a large number of choices that they can use to be able to do that, and that is how results will get better in every organization.
Right.
So I think that's most important.
So primarily, if we say it's the emotional IQ, which is
Absolutely, connecting on a personal one-on-one basis, not only on a professional basis.
right.
And many a times we are so engrossed in professionalism that we believe that when we get into a personal conversation, it's a waste of time.
Right.
The first time you meet your employee and you just ask him about the work and not saying, hey, how are you? A lovely shirt that you're wearing, or have a personal connect
Yeah.
or a comment to make,
Yeah.
and then get into the professional part of it, you will find a more humane connect getting connected or being enabled.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you so much, Pawan. It's been really lovely having you at Amazing Workplaces.
Thank you so much, Ekta. I had a wonderful time. Thank you so much.